Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Kim. I am a Korean American woman with shoulder-length, straight black hair. I'm wearing pink glasses, a cream-colored shirt, and a white ceramic bead necklace. I'm coming to you today from the Hudson Valley in New York, on land that is the ancestral home of the Mohicans and Munsee Lenape. Welcome to the second installment of our multi-part online exhibition, Indisposable Structures of Support After the ADA. This exhibition was curated by Jessica Cooley and Anne Fox, who are behind the scenes with us today. You can meet Jessica and Anne on the homepage of our exhibition on our website and hear their exhibition explanation and hear hello from them. Our shift to the gallery, from gallery to online programming for this exhibition, gave us the opportunity to invite artists, writers, scholars, and performers to envision and create new work intended to be shown in this space and shared and broadcast to your screens. We kicked off the exhibition series in September with the beautiful film by Alex Delura Salerno, examining the intertwined commodification of youth and wellness and the disabling effects of colonialism. For today's event, we bring you joy. Joy in the time of quarantine and lockdown, as shared by Sami Schalk. How pleasure, agency, pride, and joy can spread more joy. In this spirit, I'm happy to have MK Serwick, the comic nurse, join us today to live illustrate the event. You'll have a peek at her progress during a comfort break later on in this hour, and after the event, all of MK's illustrations will be available to you to download. We also want to celebrate your quarantine looks and hope that you will join us at the end of the event by turning on your cameras and joining the short Zoom screen party. We'll be rolling out the next series of online events and projects over the first half of 2021, so please stay connected with us for future events. A critical component of this and all of our events is access. Access exists as a form of radical care interwoven into the production and conceptual workings of the art selected for this exhibition and how we work within this technology. We invite you to attend from a space that makes your body feel the most comfortable and receptive to the central idea of the event, that joy begets joy begets joy. If you cannot stay with us for the full, please know that the event is being recorded and will be posted on our website. To aid in your viewing experience today, if you are on a computer, we recommend watching in gallery view mode so you can see all of the speakers, the visuals, and American Sign Language interpreters. Our ASL interpreters today are Gloria Vargas and Michael Barrios. We also have real-time live closed captioning. For live closed captioning, click on the closed captions button at the bottom of your screen. We also have David Linton providing audio descriptions to MK's illustrations. To access audio descriptions, click on the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen and choose the English channel. Please feel free to comment and communicate with us through the Q&A and chat box functions at the bottom of your screen. And for any technical questions, please email av@fordfoundation.org. Now, to give you a little roadmap for the hour, we'll have introductory remarks by Gina B. Kim, followed by a screening of Sami Schalk's video essay, Quarantine Looks, Embracing the Fabulously Mundane, followed by a conversation between Sami and Gina, during which we'll have a 5-minute comfort break, and then we'll come back to conversation and have time for Q&A, then our closing party. Our event moderator and MC today is Gina B. Kim. Gina is an assistant professor of English language and literature and of the study of women and gender at Smith College. She specializes in feminist disability studies, women of color feminisms, queer of color critique, and contemporary ethnic US literatures with an emphasis on feminist of color writing and cultural expression post-1968. Prior to joining Smith College, she was a consortium for faculty diversity postdoctoral fellow at Mount Holyoke College in the program in critical social thought. She's currently at work on a manuscript tentatively titled Dreaming of Infrastructure, Crip of Color Imaginaries After the U.S. Welfare State, which examines political and aesthetic engagements and with public dependency discourse in the literary cultural afterlife of 1996 U.S. welfare reform. I'm so pleased to have Gina take us on this journey with Sami and Quarantine Looks for the next 45 minutes or so. Thank you all for joining us online and enjoy the show.
Thank you, Lisa. So my name is Gina B. Kim, and I am a Korean American woman with a mullet. I'm wearing big wire rim glasses, white plastic chain earrings, a white mesh turtleneck with an eye pattern all over it, and a rust colored cropped cardigan with the same eye motif. I'm Zooming with you from Nipmuc and Pecumtuck land, also known as Northampton, Massachusetts. And it is my greatest pleasure to introduce Dr. Sami Schock, a brilliant queer feminist scholar and someone who I am also very lucky to call my friend. I'm going to start with Sami's official bio, talk a little bit about our personal connection, and introduce the amazing video that Sami created for this occasion. Dr. Sami Schock is an associate professor in the Department of Gender and Women's Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Her research focuses on disability, race, and gender in contemporary American literature and culture, especially African American and women's texts. Dr. Schock's first book, Body Minds Reimagined: Disability, Race, and Gender in Black Women's Speculative Fiction, was published by Duke University Press in 2018. Dr. Schock's work has also appeared in a variety of journals such as Journal of Literary and Cultural Disability Studies, Journal of Modern Literature, Journal of Popular Culture, Girlhood Studies, and African American Review. So I first met Sami at the 2015 Society for Disability Studies conference, where she saw me give a paper and she asked a fabulous question that instantly cemented our friendship. Over the years, we have been co-conspirators and collaborators in our intellectual lives and have also very much connected over our shared love of fashion, as well as our commitments to joy and pleasure, even in the midst of crisis. We are co-authors with an article titled Integrating Race, Transforming Feminist Disability Studies out in the latest issue of Signs. At conferences, back when those were actually a thing, we always found the nearest hot tub pool combo, went out of our way for delicious meals and cocktails, and modeled our conference looks for each other before going out to slay the general public. Under pandemic times, we always boost up each other's quarantine looks across all social media platforms. Dr. Schock teaches me every day that being fabulous is a discipline and one that we need to exercise on a regular basis. Given our friendship, it was, of course, such a pleasure to watch this video, quarantine looks, hashtag quarantine looks, excuse me, embracing the fabulously mundane. The following video essay by Sami Schock is a slideshow of Sami's social media posts documenting her colorful clothing, hair, and makeup. We joined Sami on a photo shoot of her hashtag quarantine looks, dressing up in floor-length gowns and sparkling face masks while tackling everyday tasks such as taking out the garbage or going to the supermarket. We're also lucky to see some of the many glittery Doc Marten pairs that Dr. Schock collects. So without further ado, I would love to start the video, hashtag quarantine looks, embracing the fabulously mundane.
Quarantine looks, embracing the fabulously mundane. In March 2020, facing lockdown alone in Madison, Wisconsin, I was isolated and deeply depressed. To combat my depression, I began creating daily hair, makeup, and outfit looks that I posted on my social media accounts under the hashtag quarantine looks. As friends and followers commented on how seeing my daily looks brightened their day during a difficult and scary time for many people, I realized that the looks were not only about making myself feel good, but also about connecting with people during a time where I was very isolated and at times quite unwell emotionally. I mostly took the photos using my phone, a Bluetooth clicker, and a tripod, But twice during the lockdown, I worked with local disabled queer photographer Sam Waldron to do FaceTime photo shoots as well. For these photos, I would set up my phone on a tripod and pose with Sam's direction while she took screenshots that she edited into beautiful images. For this current project, I reconnected with Sam to do a professional photo shoot at various locations in and around my condo building and neighborhood for what I call quarantine looks, embracing the fabulously mundane. This video essay documents the project and discusses the disability and pleasure politics that undergird it. Embracing the fabulously mundane means incorporating fabulousness, extravagance, style, sparkle, color, and shine into everyday acts, refusing to reserve a full face of makeup, your favorite outfit, or that new dress for a special occasion, but rather making any day and every day as spectacular as you want it to be. For me, embracing the fabulously mundane engages a disability politic of challenging what it means to look well or unwell. As a disabled femme with mental disabilities and chronic pain, dressing up, temporarily dyeing my hair, and wearing shiny makeup is one of the ways I tend to my mental health. I turn on music that makes me feel good and immerse myself in sparkles and color, which bring me joy even in the midst of a depressive episode. People with mental and psychological disabilities are often disbelieved about the reality or severity of our disabilities because they are not readily apparent on our bodies. Some disabled folks feel the need to overperform disability when seeking accommodations or health care because when you look sick and the way people expect you to look sick, they are more likely to help you. Fuck looking sick. Fuck looking depressed. When I am already sad and struggling to work or eat properly, putting on a fabulous looks makes me feel a little better and encourages me to do bare minimum self-care. Get out of bed, take a shower, put on clean clothes. And for my quarantine looks, it also meant that I left my condo to go outside, get fresh air, and move my body, even if only to twerk for a video. Later, when I was back in my bed or on my couch, I would look at the photos and videos I had already posted to bring a little joy back to myself again. I needed frequent reminders that joy was possible for me because when I'm depressed, I tend to forget that. I also consider my quarantine looks an act of pleasure activism. Pleasure activism is a term I draw from the work of Adrienne Maree Brown. Pleasure activism argues both that we ought to make activism and movement work pleasurable, and that pleasure is inherently political because those who are marginalized are most denied pleasure and policed in our expressions of pleasure. Pleasure activism invites us to understand all forms of pleasure, sexual, sensual, aesthetic, and emotional, as part of our liberation. As a fat Black femme, I often look different than the people around me. I used to try to hide, to blend in, to be normal, and I was miserable. I was afraid that embracing my size with my own style, my own way of being in the world would mean that I wouldn't be respected, that I wouldn't be considered serious or dedicated as an activist or academic. Quarantine looks helped me see that being my full self publicly was not a detriment to my work, but the whole point. Why fight for liberation if I myself cannot be free? If I cannot care for, love, celebrate, adorn, and move my body in the way I want to in the world? I slowed the pace of my quarantine looks when lockdown was lifted in late May, and shortly after, the uprisings began in Madison. I started showing up to protest in my fabulous looks, sparkly masks, colorful outfits, even wings. I was often distributing food and water at events, and I found that people were really delighted by the aesthetic pleasure of my presence along with the free sustenance. Joy begets joy begets joy. Embracing the fabulously mundane during lockdown and after allowed me to enact my particular disability and pleasure politics in ways that were healing, powerful, and connective. I encourage more people to wear what you want to wear, whenever and wherever you want to wear it. One of the many things the pandemic has taught me is that nothing is guaranteed and that I should take as much pleasure from every single day as I can manage, and when I want, share that pleasure with the world.
Oh no, I'm not leaving my apartment this evening. Introverted, I'm needing some me time. I'll be reading while you're out at the club. I'm in my pajamas, twerking in the mirror, eating peanut butter. A homebody, a homebody, a homebody, a homebody, yeah. Not going out tonight, not going out tonight. A homebody, a homebody, a homebody, a homebody, yeah. Not going out tonight. Not going out tonight. Don't hit me up, 'cause I won't answer ya. On my back on the rug, I'm all in my feelings, but everything's good. On my couch in my hoodie, condo in my cube, binging on solitude. A homebody, a homebody, a homebody, a homebody, yeah. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. A homebody, a homebody, a homebody, a homebody, yeah. I'm not.
Hello. Hey. How's it going? Do you want to introduce your outfit?
Yeah. Hi. So this is my outfit. This is a blue romper with mesh sleeves, and I'm wearing a necklace that says "You could have had a bad bitch," and my earrings are pink floggers. And I am a Black woman with glasses and curly hair, and my hair currently has some temporary hair dye and hair glitter in as well.
I did a costume change. So now I'm wearing a fake fur cropped jacket with a black turtleneck and hoop earrings that say "Girl Gang"
Yes.
in them. And if you're wondering, yes, we did model our outfits for each other prior to this event.
There had to be coordination.
Yes. So Sammy, I mean, I love and adore this video, as I'm seeing many people in the Q&A are also responding very joyfully to it. And it just gotten so many wheels in my head turning. And I guess one question I would love to ask you is, what does it mean to talk openly about depression as a queer Black femme scholar? I mean, I'm reminded of the fact that Audre Lorde's Cancer Journals and A Burst of Light are the first public meditations on illness and disability by an African-American woman, an African-American lesbian, right? And I feel like that's important context to kind of, consider this video. So yeah, if you could talk a little bit about that, I would love it.
Yeah, I have not talked publicly about depression for a long time. Like I've had depression for, the majority of my life, and in and out of therapy the majority of my life. So I've lived this kind of split understanding of myself, where I have the ability to talk about it quite coherently inside of the context of therapy, and outside of it, I might say that I have depression, but not really talk about what that means. And as a person who has like a generally sunny disposition and is like a femme, I think that folks don't quite understand how somebody who generally lives in the public as this like bright and sunny person could also be experiencing depression. And for me, my experiences of depression are like this really an inability to feel and to feel like there's a reason to do anything. So I just have these days that'll be periods of time where I'm just like, I don't know why I would do anything. Like, I just don't know why. I lose all kind of like zest for living, that I'm just like, maybe I just sleep for 4 weeks. I don't know. And it's really hard to explain that to people. And it was a thing that by not talking about it, I realized I wasn't letting people into my life. So that was one thing. I think it was damaging the way that I was connecting with people by not being as open about my depression. But also as a disability studies scholar, it was wild that it took me as long as it did to really like be open. So for folks who have like read my work before, in my early work, I talk about being non-disabled because even as someone who worked in disability studies, I still could not quite understand my depression as disability, because it wasn't incapacitating for the most part. I don't use medication. And so there were all these things that I kept justifying that I wasn't disabled enough, essentially, for myself. And so it was also a process of coming into my disability identity as someone who has been in the field for a long time,
Oh my gosh, I totally feel that, this idea that even as disability studies scholars, it can be difficult to name and be public about our own mental health struggles, of which I also have, I see in the chat that Margaret Price says the femme intervention is key here, and I really want to talk about a femme intervention. And so that kind of brings me to my next question, which is the relationship of quarantine looks to your work with the Madison protests and uprisings. I mean, this feels really significant for me because of the many ways in which femme labor and femme activism has not been seen as quote unquote real activism, right? And I think Leah Lakshmi Paipchna Samarasinghe does a really beautiful job of analyzing this in Care Work. And I feel like the quarantine looks are yet kind of another example of femme activism. So yeah, can you talk a little bit about your quarantine looks in relationship to the struggle in the streets and what is often considered to be quote unquote more legitimate activism?
Yeah. So I love Care Work. I definitely recommend that folks who are interested in thinking through these issues read that book for sure. And Leah and I are going to be having a conversation later tonight. So if you want to come to that event, we'll also be there. But yeah, quarantine looks as like femme activism. I think that one of the things that as someone who's been trying to get more into on the ground organizing work, because I've been doing research on Black activists, and I feel like it was just a necessary part of doing my own research was to be more involved in the work that's happening right now. I think I just had this notion that caring about my appearance made me less serious about the struggle, like how do you have a critique of capitalism, but then also like really want to buy some clothes? It's hard. So like, I'm trying to learn how to like meld this, but I think that recognizing the way that what makes me feel most myself and most powerful is when I have some like colorful clothes on and some good lipstick. And that is when I am most ready to go face the world. And so if that's how I want to be and need to be in the world, but that doesn't diminish my capacity to be an activist. And when I was doing on the ground work during the uprising here, I was wearing shiny masks because those were all the masks that I own. I don't own boring masks. I only own shiny, bright masks. And wearing, shiny leggings and things out, it made people happy, right? Like, and I don't see that that's a problem to make some people happy while you're out in the world. And it made me recognizable. So people knew that like I had water bottles and I had food and I had extra masks. So it wasn't hard to be like, go find the big Black woman in a neon yellow dress. Like you can find that person. That's a recognizable human being. So yeah, it just made me a little more recognizable in the space, but it didn't change the work that I was doing. It just made it more fun for me. And, that is one of the principles of doing pleasure activism, is to make movement work irresistible. And if we can be and feel beautiful, and whatever that means for you, whatever makes you feel powerful when you're walking in the streets. I mean, I put on those Doc Martens, but my Doc Martens are shiny and beautiful, but they're still boots that I'm going to stomp around in. So yeah, that's some of the ways that it plays into work. And I think that, yeah, too many femmes get kind of dismissed as not being leaders too often. So it's an honor for me to work with Freedom Inc. here in Madison, Wisconsin, because it is a feminist and queer organization. It is led by women and femmes of all sorts. And so that's an organization where I felt like I could be my femme self there.
So, yeah, I mean, yes, so many yeses to all of this. I totally relate, as you know. There was a long period of time where I was hesitant to participate openly in radical and revolutionary politics because of my experiences within movement spaces of being dismissed or not taken seriously, or, this feeling that I had to wear like burlap in order to be taken seriously. And I really feel like you're this kind of like bright, shiny example of how all of like femme fierceness and cutting, incisive, radical critique can coexist. Like, these are not oppositional. And I know we're coming close to the break, but I kind of want to know, what does femme mean for you?
Femme is like color and energy. It's a vibe. Like, it's not tied to body. It's not tied to any particular kind of appearance. It's like it's adornment. Like, I feel like feminist is adornment, like, and that can be all kinds of things, whatever you're putting, whether it's like tattoos as adornment, jewelry as adornment, all kinds of things. But yeah, I know a femme when I see a femme, and it's like there's nothing that I can like fully define. I don't know, but yeah, there's just a vibe about feminists that to me is so important, and it's more important than an understanding of like womanhood, like femme as a queered kind of gender identity is important to me, because I don't want to adhere to most kind of norms of womanhood, but I love feeling pretty. I fucking love feeling pretty. So that's just what it is.
And you're amazing at pretty, I just have to say. You're really good at doing pretty. You're so cute. We spend a lot of time just telling each other we're cute. And I think that is a cornerstone of our friendship and femship. I heard this really great understanding of feminist from another close femme friend of mine, a best femme friend of mine, Britt Russert. Shout out to Britt. That femme means intention, right? So being deliberate about adornment and about gender and about embracing what to many people may seem excessive and ridiculous and hyperbolic. Yeah. I mean, I'm a Southerner. I'm from Georgia, so I feel like a lot of my gender expression is very much linked to Southern femininity, which is always sort of larger than life. I'm thinking of like the B-52s, Dolly Parton, these are like key femme icons in my repertoire. And And so I know we're getting close to the comfort break, and I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about your own femme fashion icons.
Oh gosh. So, I mean, currently, I adore Lizzo right now, just in terms of, I mean, half the time she's mostly naked. There's so much booty. So booty as fashion is like something that really attracts me. I grew up in small town Kentucky, so there was like a pushing away of adornment. So I think that's also partially my response to that. But I've always had like an attraction to Dolly Parton, which I grew up with country music, and there was something about her. And honestly, like growing up, I had my mom's best friend was like a woman who liked to shop and dress up, and she always had makeup on, and that was like not my mom's jam. And so there was always something about her that I think she just seemed to live this glamorous life. Like she went to Hawaii, I'm like, ooh, I want to go to Hawaii. So I think there was just this, glamorousness was something that I was really attracted to. So it was like people in my life and people on TV or like that I saw in other ways. And then my partner, Jess Wagner, is also a femme icon. So, also very much inspires some looks. Like Jess taught me that I was allowed to wear crop tops. I didn't know I was allowed to wear a crop top as a fat person. So also like fat femmes is a particular genre for me.
And Jess and I do have matching crop tops, just to know. We love, this is a crop top. In this family, we wear crop tops,
Yes.
So I think we're at the time to take our comfort break. So let's do that. We have a costume change to attend to, so we will be back in 5 minutes.
Well, hello.
Hello, we're back. We're back. Okay, so clearly we need to take a few minutes to describe our new outfits.
Yes.
Yes,
would you like to go first, Gina?
So yes, and I want to say that yes, we did coordinate the palms. If you were wondering, that was on purpose. So I am wearing now these multicolored pom-pom earrings. They're peach, yellow, and peach. And then I'm also wearing my favorite dog-themed dress. It has a kind of wacky kind of Rocco's Modern Lifestyle pattern in the background. And then there's line drawings of various dogs, like a Great Dane and a bloodhound. So that's my look right now. Sammy, your look?
Yes. So I also changed my clothes. I'm going to stand up first. So I have on some really shiny, like oil slick leggings, as well as, there we go. Some sequined Uggs that I just got that I really love. Thanks to Dana, who's here for recommending Uggs. Also wearing a blue crop top and then a cropped pink fur coat with a matching blue lining. And then my palm earrings are just 2 earrings that are coordinated with the color of the jackets. And I've added a significant amount of glitter onto my face.
We needed that
That's
glitter.
my new look.
Yes.
Much glitter.
We need no less than a significant amount of glitter.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go for it, you might as well just put it all over.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to know more about your process of putting together the quarantine looks, and also, what do you look for when shopping? What are some thematics in your wardrobe?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm interested in changes constantly. So I will go through phases where I want like nothing but jumpsuits. I'm really into like furry jackets right now. So I might have bought like 4 in the past couple of weeks. Really, so I go through these phases. But the way that I was putting together the quarantine looks was um, basically, I would choose one thing in my wardrobe that I hadn't worn in a while, and then try to build an outfit entirely around that one piece. So sometimes that would be like a pair of earrings that I hadn't worn in a long time that I really liked, like ones that are kind of weird or like aren't work appropriate. So I would pull those out and try to build outfits around that. So it was, for me during lockdown, it was a way of having something to plan my day around, particularly for me at the time of the lockdown in the spring. I was not teaching, I was on leave, and I had just kind of finished some work on a book. So I had very little like work to do. So I really needed something to structure my day. So yeah, I was structuring my day around putting together a look. I'm like myself distracted right now by how much glitter is on my face. It's really fun. Um, so yeah, and I shop mostly online. As a fat person, it's really hard to shop in a general kind of store, which who's shopping in stores now? Anyway, everybody's shopping online. A couple of websites are on board, and that's how I start to pick things out. But I'm always looking for bright colors. I'm looking for something, yeah, shiny and ridiculous. Honestly, this like, I want something that people are going to look at it and be like, "What's that? What's happening?" Would be like a little confused at first. Did you just come from something? Are you going somewhere? And I'm like, I'm going right here, sir. Just right to this grocery store. That's what I'm doing. Sure am. So that's what I want. I want people to just be a little confused by me.
Oh my God.
Delighted
I so
and
feel
confused.
that. And also, yes. I'm just delighted, if I'm being honest. Yeah, and then I also really structured my day around my outfits, and honestly continue to structure my day. For some reason, just like taking a long shower and playing my favorite songs while getting ready and putting a lot of care into my outfits and then taking photos of those outfits has been a real key part of surviving this quarantine, which I do just want to make space for the fact that it has been a huge struggle, right? That these are ways in which we survive and we still try to bring joy into the moment. But, I'm not trying to sit here and pretend that, this hasn't been like a mental health challenge for me, right?
Yeah.
So I also wanted
and both
to
of us live alone, and I think that's I think living alone through this has been, it's just its own kind of experience. I think, living with somebody or having kids, but living alone through the pandemic and through lockdown, it's a particular kind of isolation that, I had moments early on in the depressive episode that happened right at the beginning of the lockdown where I was like, so if I die in my house, like how long before someone will know? Like how long? At the time, like my partner was not here yet. Jess is now in Madison, so that makes things, I won't die alone in my house, hopefully. But, there was so much fear and so much unknown. And then to also be so isolated, it was incredibly difficult. And so being able to put together a look and send it to a friend and bring a little happiness to them, but also get some affirmation to be seen, like literally to be seen, to be witnessed, to be like, I am still here today, was important. It was incredibly important.
Hmm. Absolutely. I mean, same, same, same. I was also and continue to be a huge fan of the costume change to go to the living room. You know what I mean? Just like trying to still infuse playfulness and joy into the moment. So it is now time for us to begin the Q&A portion of this event.
Excellent.
So there are a lot of questions. Let's see, where should we start? Okay, so I took a lot of complex power away from the pairing of joy and mundanity that you shine a light on with this video, Dr. Shock, and then how that moved into something less mundane during the protest this summer. Was the pairing of mundane plus joy something you saw as you put together the looks, or did that emerge thematically after the fact? Either way, thank you for this video and this event.
So the term fabulously mundane, I first started using with Jess to talk about how when they got here, we were just going to go grocery store shopping like we used to in grad school, but we would just like dress up with each other because we enjoy spending some time just putting together outfits. And I also have another friend who said that we should normalize being fabulous, because every time we get fabulous, people like want to make a big deal out of it. And it should be a little more normal to look great and to look however you want to look. So that's one of the ways that it started. But also I think the emphasis on the mundane for me is that we don't have to justify this. Like, I don't need to justify wearing this outfit. I don't need to justify putting on glitter. I think that's the thing that I noticed, is that I would dress up and people would ask me like, where are you going or what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm not doing anything in particular. This is just the way I want to be in the world. And so I want to normalize that a little bit more. Like, if this is the way you want to be in the world, be in the world in this way. And so I could also take that into the protest space to be like, I want to be fully me, and fully me is like dressed up. Me feeling powerful is dressed up. And so that's what I'm going to do when I show up to a protest. And other folks may wear other things, and that's great. And yeah, I probably don't have the most practical protest gear, but I was not trying to stay out there when people were running from the cops. I went home after dark and then I supported from afar. I make choices about the way that I engage for my own safety. So I was at daytime protests for the most part, but that didn't mean that I couldn't hold it down fabulously.
Oh my gosh, you definitely hold it down fabulously. Another question we have is, do we have any trans/gender non-conforming fashion heroes and icons?
I mean, well, so my partner is one. And then, I mean, Janelle Monáe has recently come out as non-binary as well, but Janelle Monáe has long been a fashion icon for me. Even as someone who doesn't lean into masculine looks as well, there's a fluidity of Janelle Monáe that I deeply admire and am attracted to, even as it's not like her style is not exactly my style. She's like the tiniest human. I saw her perform and I was like, I didn't know she was so short. She's real little. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, if I can also answer this question, I draw a lot of inspiration from, I love Alok Vaid-Menon's looks. I follow their Instagram, maybe exclusively for the fashion. I also love Christine from Christine and the Queens. And Jordan Electra is someone who I've really been enjoying these days, both music-wise and fashion-wise. So these are other kind of, trans and gender non-conforming icons that we look up to. Do we have time for one more question? Let's see. So wondering about how you might navigate adornment on difficult days. As a person with chronic pain and neurodivergence plus mental health issues, I often find it hard to figure out the line between self-care and self-destructive behavior. I've been mostly in pajamas since March and had thought that this was the care I needed after burnout from working beyond my capacity. Thank you for framing joy as much needed self and community care. So how do you navigate adornment on days that are just hard?
I have recently gotten into onesies. Torrid, if you're a fat person, Torrid has these onesies that they came out with for Halloween. I now have 5 of them. They're super comfortable and soft and easy. I can zip it on and off. I can wear nothing under it if I don't want to. And it still is like the silliest thing. I mean, one of them is, it's the Cheshire Cat. Another one is Sully from Monsters, Inc. I have one that's like all leopard print. They're so silly. The Cheshire Cat one has a tail, so I'll just like be looking in the mirror and be like, oh yeah, I have a tail right now. What a dumb thing. Like, why do I have a tail? So even things, I think that adornment doesn't have to mean like complicated. You know, there are times I'm like, I can't handle doing hair and makeup right now, but I still want to just feel good. And then often like I said, I've been into these fuzzy jackets, like just putting on a jacket that feels comfortable. So I don't think that like femme and comfort can still come together, and fabulous doesn't have to just mean, it can mean whatever you want. Like, this is about bringing yourself joy. So it might be for you silly things, like it might be a bunch of onesies. So that's how I handle it on days where I just don't feel physically or emotionally capable of putting something on, because I'm not trying to be uncomfortable. I want to be comfortable. So, I mean, that's the other thing about the quarantine looks. Half the time I would put together an outfit, take a whole bunch of pictures, and then immediately take all that clothes off. And be right on back into whatever. Like, I just wanted to put it together and look at myself and then mostly take it off. So that was another benefit of lockdown, was that I could wear it for an hour and then just be done with that whole thing.
Okay, so oh my gosh, there's so many other questions and honestly so little time. So now I believe we're going to wrap, and we want to invite you all to turn on your cameras and show us, if you feel comfortable, your own quarantine looks, and we're going to play a little jam to accompany that. Yeah. Yay. Thank you all so much. This was so fun.
Hello. Hi. Steph. Hi, Britt. Hi, Anna. Molly, you put on lipstick. I don't think I've ever seen you wear lipstick.
Epic quarantine look.
Hi, Dana. Yeah. Yay, so many faces. Jazz.
My iTunes, cooking up something new. My ideas come at night. I sketch and I rewrite. Deep diving in my mind. All alone, I'm alive. A homebody, a homebody, a homebody, a homebody, yeah. T of one, T of one. A homebody, a homebody, a homebody, a homebody, yeah. T of one, T of one.
I like that hat down there, JP. Yes. Is this a jacket? What is this white fabulousness down there?
Brava, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for a really, truly joyful afternoon. Gina, for your masterful timekeeping, and seeing Sammy for everything that you bring and wear and show us today. Thank you. To Anne and
Thank you
Jessica,
all so
thank you.
much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.